I have grown my business 100% since this time last year,
Wow.
just by being able to stay in front of people.
Hey everyone, so I'm super excited about today's podcast. So I've got Marla on here. She's been a client, she's a permanent makeup artist. She's been a client with me for a few years, and I've watched her go from, all over the place, excuse me for saying this, Marla, but I feel like you were kind of struggling to get clients, if that's a fair term. And then now she has a fully automated, business and system, and she's just doing amazing. And so on this podcast today, we're going to be talking about how to automate your business for one, how to make it a sellable and scalable asset, and how to just gain back your time while making more money. And so real quick, let me introduce Marla.
Hey, my name is Marla. My business name is All About the Brow. I work in a small suburb right outside of Dallas, Texas. I've been using Jake since about 2019 when we started our advertising. Then, of course, we went through the whole COVID thing. So, yeah, I was kind of struggling when I first started with him. And since we've implemented this new program, things have really taken off and just shot through the roof. And it's been a wonderful experience.
Starting out, how did, before we started using this, last year, how were you managing your leads and your business versus how you're doing it now? What's changed over the past year?
I have gotten my life back is what has changed. Because literally every task or every lead that I got in, I was managing it through Facebook, and you have to actually manually go in and reply to them or have conversation with them. Whereas this software has given me the opportunity to make what it's called a workflow, and it's all done automatically. So it keeps me in front of their face for as short a period of time or as long of a period of time as I want, without having to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sit in front of the computer till 6 or 7 when I've messaged everybody in my list. So it automatically does it for me when it's all set up correctly.
That's awesome. And I know you've even got, a little bit, you've almost built your whole business system on there. I know you have things for let's say, follow-ups with people who have already had the procedure done, to get their touch up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we developed a workflow that I call my post-op, and basically the day after they're in for whatever procedure, I enroll them into this workflow, and it gives them all of their post-op care. It gives them reminders on how to take care of their brows or liner or lips or whatever. And as it goes along, we created it to where I actually ask for a review. So my reviews have gone up. It asks for referrals. So I'm getting more referrals because it's reminding the people once they get out of my door, I'm not what they think about 100%. And then as it gets closer to their appointment, it starts reminding them of their appointments.
That's awesome. Because, we all know how important reviews and referrals are for business. And so, on average, how much percentage do you think it's grown your business based on those two factors alone?
I have grown my business 100% since this time last year,
Wow.
just by being able to stay in front of people. Because even after we get them through what we have called our Nurture Up workflow, which is about staying in front of that customer for 30 days, if I haven't gotten any reply from them, we still reach back out to them in about 6 months to kind of tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you were thinking about getting your brows done. Are you kind of interested now? So it just keeps me in front. So I'm actually getting clients that have messaged or had looked at my ads a year ago. I'm just now starting to get customers from.
Yep. And I know you mentioned earlier that you spent a few hours, back in the day, you spent a few hours every day messaging leads back and forth. How much time do you think this actually saves you, day to day?
About 90% of my time is free now. Yeah, because like I said, it's just the important thing in our business is you just got to stay in front of the people, and it's hard when you have to do it manually. So the automation with this program has really lightened my load.
Yep.
And I can actually go and work and do things that I like to do now.
Yep. So automations help you get your life back. Let's talk about, actually tracking your numbers, because I know you also went through my sales mastermind earlier this year with me and Tony. And one of the big emphasis items was really keeping up with your numbers and how to do it. So how has this software really helped you track those, and how has that made a difference in your business?
So with this particular software that we're talking about, I really get to track my numbers. I know exactly how many customers that I have not or how many leads I have not converted into customers, and what their value is, because we have a value set for every person that's out there. So when I convert them into a customer, I can see what my return on investments are. I can better manage where my ad spend is going, and just things like that that are really important to a business owner that we really just don't have the time to stop and think about all the time.
Yep. And I know there's different stages of business growth. Like when we all start out, it's like, oh, we want to make more money. We don't really have set goals necessarily. Some people do, but you're really just you're really just trying to get clients. And then the next stage is like adding on advertising and putting money into it. But then a lot of people stop there. They don't really know what their ROI is. They're not really tracking their numbers. And so this third stage of business that we're talking about really allows her and myself, because I use the same software, to say like, okay, if I put it's a predictable system. If I put $100 into ads, on average, this is how much return on investment I'm going to get, and this is how many clients I'm going to, book.
Yep. So yeah, and I learned a lot with you and Tony back in January, because until then I really never paid attention. So that really just kind of brings you more aware of where you should be and what you really should be watching for. I mean, we all do this for the fun. Or, at least I do it for the fun because I like doing it. But to be more successful, to reach a goal that I have set for myself in a couple of years, it has really made me focus a little bit differently.
That's awesome. So the next huge advantage I think of this software is being able to control your own data. So, let's say we run a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad and we get messages. Well, guess what? If your Instagram gets hacked, your inbox is gone. You've lost all those leads. And so a huge emphasis item I've seen this happen to multiple people, all the time. And so a huge emphasis item I've been trying to teach people lately is you really need to control your data, build that list. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you've built your list for your business?
So with this software and doing the lead attraction ads, we actually get to collect their name, their telephone number, their email address, and having that in your control is amazing because yes, when I mention this, you're going to remember I was one of those people back in December that my account got hacked. So, I lost my Facebook and I never was able to regain it. I lost my Instagram and I was never able to regain it. So I've had to start over. But we had already implemented this, so I already had several leads in there that I was still able to go and converse with and convert them into clients. So it kind of helped me in that transition of setting up all new accounts.
Yeah.
So
social media is an amazing tool, but as you saw and experienced yourself, because I've had my account shut down before too, and
yep.
As you experience yourself, it's very scary to say like, wow, I just probably lost my whole business because we don't have our social media anymore, we don't have our leads, we don't have our contacts, and so that's why having that email list, that phone number list, and that potential client list is so huge.
Yep. So, and eventually, one day if I get to my goal that I have set, in 5, 6, 7 years, when I have this huge amount of contacts and stuff, I have a value to my business that I can show somebody that says, I've had this many people at least look at my business, and just getting them to come in is just part of the practice.
Yeah, and with that, are you kind of talking about like creating a sellable asset so that when you're ready to retire, you can still, make more money instead of just saying, well, I'm done, that's it, that's all my income?
Absolutely, because I know so many artists that have decided to get out of this and they just give their business away because they're not doing it anymore, and they're saying, I just need somebody to take care of my customers. Well, when I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, I want to be able to sell my customer base.
And that's a huge asset. And I've looked into buying businesses and taking masterminds of that, and that's one of the things is like, do they have a client list? Like, what are their numbers? If you don't know your numbers, if you don't have a list, even though you might have a valuable business, you're not able to portray that.
This is a true fact. Every client that comes into your chair is money today, but it's going to be money residual for the future, regardless if it's them coming in for, annual colors or for selling your business. Somebody's going to want that particular business, especially new artists coming out that are struggling to get, to get clients. They would love the opportunity to be able to come in if they had the funds to be able to buy somebody's database that says, I know that this person had this many clients and I can build off of that.
Yeah. Speaking of database, another feature that I love, and you can tell me whether you like it or not, but is the ability to do like the mass text messages or the mass emails. That way, like, let's say you have a promotion going on, or you want to fill a couple spots, or just whatever, like just staying in front of people. Or you start a new service, because a lot of people like to add on new services, which I think is smart, but then you can announce those new services to people. So what do you think about that feature? Have you used it? I mean, I know you have, but I would just love to hear your experience about it.
Yeah, we have used it a couple of times. I used it in the summer. I did a summer special. So anybody that had not actually booked an appointment with me, I put a little package together and I blasted it out to everybody. And I would say I probably got about a 5% return on that blast. So it's information that I already had. It was being able to stay in front of people that already knew my name, and that, I gave them a little something and they finally decided that this was the time for them to do it.
Yep. It's great that, like, an advertiser like me can get you 1,000 leads over, the period of like 3 to 6 months. But, if you have to manually go back and follow up with 1,000 people, that's almost impossible unless you just copy and paste a bunch. And even then you can get flagged for that. And so this allows you to really do those follow-ups.
It really does, because it works on a repetitive motion. So it's making the wheel go round and round, and we're not having to like flip the tire. So,
I'm putting myself in someone's shoes that's watching this, and maybe they're thinking like, well, I'm scared to annoy people if I text them, or I'm scared to annoy people if I email them. What experiences have you had with that?
I've had a few people that say, hey, a lot of times I get the who is this question, and then I just politely remind them that, you viewed my Facebook ad, and this is the services I offer. And they're like going, oh, yeah, I remember that. So then, they either stay in my workflow, or if they just don't want to be bothered, they have the option to opt out, which is a really great feature within this program.
So I think that people assume that, like, they hire a great advertiser like me and somebody's just going to click on the ads and instantly book. It can happen, but, does that always happen?
No, it doesn't happen at all. It takes work getting people to get a procedure like this. Most of the time when they click on the ads, it's because they're curious. So like within the workflows and stuff, I start answering questions for them about how the procedure goes, because a lot of the questions I have is does it hurt? And, and then I have to explain to them, the world is better with anesthetics. So the first click people rarely happens. I'm going to tell you it's probably less than 3%. Do I get first clicks? Hey, I want to book. Most of my bookings will come towards the end of my 30-day workflow that I do, because I've given them information. I've educated them on the procedure. I've educated them on what to look for in an artist. And in one of my texts, I even tell them, if you don't hire me as the artist, at least you know what to look for. So it just it gives them comfort that I have given them the information that they did not know what they needed.
Yeah, and when you say give them the information, are you talking about, do you sit there and manually send all this stuff all the time, or is this all automated?
This is all automated.
Okay.
I hardly ever have to do anything within the system, because once that comes in there, they're automatically enrolled into this workflow that we have developed and put together. So unless they come and ask a specific question, I don't have to get in there and do anything. It just puts them through the process. So, and then of course, if they ask a question, I'm happy to go in there and answer it. But it just has made life very simple, and gives you time back to do other things.
And you mentioned something like a minute ago where you said 30-day workflow. And so, what you're basically saying is a lot of times your sales process, from the time someone clicks on an ad to the time they book, and that education and follow-up between, is about 30 days. And so, this is a huge concept, because I think a lot of people, they like if someone doesn't book within the first like week, they're like, oh, well, that was a bad lead, or they're not, interested and stuff like that. And the fact is, they're leaving money on the table because they don't have these systems in place to follow up with people.
Yeah, that's a correct statement because I mean, like even look back at what I did this past spring, we took all of my leads that have not committed to doing a procedure and I blasted this simple little message out and got several replies back saying, "Yeah, I want to do this before the summer." You know, what woman doesn't want to go outside and not have to worry about putting on brow makeup or it coming off in the pool while they're swimming? So when you tell them those kinds of information and put those thoughts in their head, they really start thinking about, is this something that they need?
So I've had a lot of people, like anytime I bring out something new or mention a software or anything, people are like, well, I'm not tech savvy. I don't know how to do this stuff. So what would you say to them?
You don't have to be that tech savvy. You really just have to sit down with a pen and paper. That's what I did. And I went through and decided what I wouldn't be upset with because I don't text them every day. Sometimes there's 3, 4, 8 days in between they get a text message or an email, but I just put in their information that I thought would be helpful if I was sitting on that end of their phone. So
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think like, oh, automation, that just means annoying robot or scam bot or whatever. But as you said, like you're literally mapping out like, as a human being, as a business owner, what would I say to that person? How would I follow up with them and when would I follow up with them? Obviously you're not going to sit there and text them every single day because that's annoying. But like you said, maybe you would follow up with them within 3 days or within a week, depending on the time frame. And so automation is not about spamming people. It's about, multiplying yourself, creating clones of yourself so that you can, as the human being, have time to go do other stuff and provide a great client experience.
that's correct because if we had to do all of that manually, we would never get to do our art.
Yep, exactly.
So,
And that's what building systems is, or that's really how to build businesses, is building the right system.
yeah. So, it's been really great. Like I said, this has been a lifesaver for me. And my husband loves me again because we actually get to go and spend time and do things.
That's awesome.
And I'm not on the computer 24 hours a day.
Yep. And then I guess last but not least, like let's say that, someone is, not that tech savvy and they don't have time to set up a lot of this stuff. How would you, I don't want this to be a leading question, but like talk a little bit about the support you get from our team.
So when all of this started out, of course, you have a team that does all of this for you. And I think when we were building the workflows and you had a basic one, I would just text or message your team and tell them, hey, I would like to add this in at day 10. Or, hey, I would like to ask this question to try to get a reply from them at day 21. And they would just go in and fix the workflows for me. They would adjust them as needed. And then, of course, after I started watching what y'all did a little bit more, then I was a little bit more in tune with what you were doing. So I knew how to adjust my questions and my responses that I wanted to go out. So.
Yep. And long story short, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because it's not like anytime you're implementing a new system in your business, it's not going to be just like you flip a switch and then magically, bookings roll in and it's super easy and you're on the beach drinking lemonade. Like it is a process to get to that point.
Absolutely not. I mean, we're almost a year into it and I'm still making adjustments and doing tweaks. And I think that that's something that you're just going to continuously do because there's always room for improvement.
Yep.
There's always room for improvement of the verbiage. There's always room for improvement of, the frequency and what is too much versus what is not enough.
Yeah. And the other thing I really love about this, and after that, like this will probably be my last question, but basically what I love about this is the fact that, let's say Facebook shut down tomorrow. Well, guess what? With your system, with your landing page, with everything, we can go to Google, we can go to TikTok, we can send anyone to these systems. It doesn't rely on one platform.
Absolutely, because like I said, I've collected all the important information and nobody's in control of it except for us. So.
Yep. So that's going to be my new push over the next year is to get people to be in control of their own data, in control of their stuff. And that way they're not held hostage by Facebook, held hostage by Instagram, and able to really grow a business long term no matter what happens.
That's correct, because nobody's going to take care of your business like you do. I know that we should, source some things, and I do. I have a personal assistant that's out of state, and I source her for certain things. But when it comes down to the last minute of the last day, nobody's going to take care of it like I do. So if I have control of all of that, if the world was to shut down tomorrow, no social media, or if I got hacked again, I have all of those contacts. And I think, like I said, we're not even a year into it, and I have almost 3,000 contacts that are just still leads. So those are people that I still could pull from that group and keep working and keep getting customers. It's just being able to find the right ones when they're ready to do it.
Awesome. Well, if anyone's on the fence about, should I build all this stuff out? Should I create a system for my business? Do you have any final words for them?
I'd say absolutely do it. Who wouldn't want to make your life easier? And that's exactly what it has done. It has just made things easier. It's made things smoother. Because with this particular system, there are so many, it's so customizable from the moment that they become a lead to the moment they become a customer. Even, because my customers are still in this database, they get reminders of, when it's been a year, and I ask them how their color's doing. So I don't have to manually keep a list of people that I saw last year to remind me to call them and see how their color's doing or anything like that. The system is put in place to do it all itself. So it just frees up a lot of time. So it's been an amazing journey with this whole thing.
That's awesome to hear. And I know that I said that was my last point or question, but I know you mentioned to me before that your favorite feature, which I guess we're saving the best for last, is being able to create tasks. Can you go into task a little bit more?
So I love the whole task feature with it being attached to a particular lead, because a lot of times we get people in our leads and, they go through this workflow and they have questions, and then they'll say, well, I was just researching it because I'm thinking about doing it for myself for my birthday. Well, then your next question is going to be, well, when's your birthday? And they'll tell you their birthday. Well, I go in and I'll create a task, and come about a week before their birthday, I'll say, hey, happy early birthday. How are you doing? And do you, is this something you're still wanting to do? So you have a perfect stranger remembering your birthday, yeah. And they're more than likely going to drum up some kind of conversation with you that gives you the opportunity to convert them to a client.
Yep, that's awesome and so powerful, because I mean, I even get like people like that all the time. Like business owners will come to me and like, well, we have a vacation, for the next couple months, or I'm waiting to get my kids back in school, or you name it. And so I'll say like, okay, what's a good date that we can follow up and come back to this? And I'll set that as a task and it'll remind me.
Yep. So, and whereas, before, I was keeping it in a spreadsheet, and then we had to keep something over here in Outlook so I could keep the information and everything. So this has kind of combined it all into one place, and it's very versatile.
Yep.
So.
Sure. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your experience. And, I think there was a lot of great insights on that, on, how to build a scalable business, or a sellable business, I should say, or both. How to make your life easier while you're also making money. And so I really appreciate you coming on the show. You've been a great client, the past few years, and I love working with you. And so thanks again.
All right. Well, thank you, Jay. Hope you have a great day.
All right, you too. So if you listen this far, you're probably wondering, what software is he talking about? And this is something we've been developing for a while. And like I said on the video, we haven't announced this. It's not on our website or anything. And so if you want to get on our wait list now, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, we might already be full. And this, I'm not just saying this as a sales tactic. We can only handle so much support and so many setups. And so we're going to have a very limited number of people we can take for this, for kind of like a beta test launch group. Now, as a disclaimer, or just to clarify, I've already been testing this for over a year with, over 30 clients. And so I know that it works, and I know it works great, but we just can't handle a ton of signups at once. And so if you're interested in, doing this and building this, system on your software, or you just want to see it a little bit more in depth, feel free to reach out to me. You can either email jake@pmumarketer.com, or you can text at 256-584-2305. And if our wait list is full, I can get you on the wait list. And then, like I said, this is not a sales tactic. I'm not trying to create scarcity like, I teach my clients to do, but I'm serious. We can only, set up so many people at once. And so, like I said, depending on when you're watching this, we might have some availability. Just reach out to me and I'll let you know. All right, guys. Thanks.